welcome to Arrow on Target. We are your hosts.
You could find us online at StayOnTargetPodcast.com. I started to say something, and then I thought you were going to interrupt.
But I didn't.
No,
it was
you
just
didn't.
a face.
It
It was
was.
like my I'm going to say something face.
Yep.
And yeah. I'm wearing green today in honor of the Arrow.
Oh, is that why?
That is why.
It looks like a new shirt.
It is a brand new shirt.
It looks good.
It's pretty comfy. The thing is, like, I buy shirts, but I don't buy them, like, very often.
Yeah.
And so whenever I do, it's, like, a bunch of them all at once.
It's just a wardrobe refresh.
Yeah, it's just you hit the reset button on your style.
Do you throw everything else out?
No, usually, like, it graduates to, like, the comfy clothes.
Or are you wearing them till they're just, like, in tatters and threads?
No, that's not what happens. But they do visibly look, like, more worn out than my other things. But you wouldn't know unless it was, like, next to my new charcoal shirts. Usually it's the color, though.
Have you ever known someone who, like, no matter how new the shirt is, it looks like it's been worn for, like, 10 years?
Oh, dude, of
When they
course.
I'm like, what do they do to it? Like, is their washing machine just a bunch of rocks?
I was about to
rubbing
say they
everything
just put
together?
gravel in their dryer.
Maybe. I don't know.
By the way, I fixed my dryer the other day. It was amazing.
That's a sign that you're a true man.
Yeah, well, like, I literally, like, tore it apart and found the problem, put it all back together, and it was better.
Like Tim Allen on Home Improvement.
I felt like Tim
What
Allen.
was his sidekick's name? Al something.
Oh, what was his name? But he wore the flannel all the time.
Yep.
And he had the beard.
We'll figure it out. All right. Arrow.
About Arrow. This was an epic episode of Arrow. And I will say that I was amped, just straight amped for this episode before it even started. Because earlier today, Mark Guggenheim,
Yeah.
one of the showrunners,
Ended up tweeting a picture that had nothing to do with this episode.
right, he tweeted a picture of Laurel as Black Canary.
We should show it to the camera.
We should show it to the camera. Hang on a second. Let me, oh gosh.
For you audio
Oh my
listeners,
gosh.
John is finding the picture on his phone.
Putting me on the spot,
I'm going
Chris.
to narrate what's happening. Finding the picture on his phone. He's getting up out of his chair. He's showing it to the camera now. It's reflecting off the screen.
See,
there we go.
YouTube.
There's the epic picture
Oh, yeah.
of Laurel as Black Canary.
You should put that in the show notes on StayOnTargetPodcast.com.
Oh, the photo.
Yes, the photo.
Okay, I thought you meant the description.
No. Literally of me doing this,
Yes.
typed out, and John is now standing up. And it'll be like one of those detective logs or whatever. Speaking of detectives, Detective Lance, this episode still doesn't know that Sarah is dead. What is this about? How long are we going to let this go, Chris?
By the way, his name was Al Borland.
That's right, because he's boring.
Yes.
That's funny.
So you're like Al Borland.
Yeah.
Who's basically a cross between Bob Vila and whatever that other fix-it other guy's name is.
Dude, Bob Vila.
Bob Vila and what's the other guy who's like famous?
Billy Mays?
Sure. Did he fix things?
No, he didn't. He sold Oxy.
All right.
OxyClean. That's what it is. Not
Oxycontin. Gosh.
Where have we gone?
Okay.
Back to the Arrow.
Yeah, Detective Lance has no idea that Sarah's dead, and no one's even thinking like, oh, maybe we should tell him. No,
Dude, no.
it's not even like in their minds.
Well, like even like Laurel, up until this point, every time she's like talks to her dad or whatever,
Yeah.
it's like there's this underlying guilt of
Yes.
not telling him.
Yes.
But it's like this episode, we threw away all of that guilt. She's not guilty about it anymore. She is a hardened a person at this point.
So here's the other thing. Tonight when Roy was like, I'm gonna turn myself in, my thing is, to who? No one knows that Sarah's dead.
I killed Sarah Lance. No, Sarah Lance has been dead for
Yeah,
years.
exactly. What are you gonna say? Like, I mean,
There was a lot of emotions flowing around this episode.
I'm gonna turn myself in, guys.
Things like that, like where it's like that's an emotional response to the situation.
I'm gonna-
And just like Diggle had an emotional response. This is something I love about Diggle's character in this episode in particular, was because a lot of times Diggle is the voice of reason.
Yeah.
Diggle is the guy that doesn't fly off the handle. He's the guy with the level head all the time. But this time, he was the guy that kind of flew off the handle and was like, nah, we should just leave Roy. We should just let him be.
And I know they do that to introduce conflict, but I didn't necessarily like that response from Diggle.
Yeah.
And then I didn't like the easy resolution, like, of that that Oliver never thought Roy had actually killed her. He thought, I thought it might have been this person. I just wanted you to remember it. The cop, like that explanation is weak. And it's
but
just like we teased, it was a huge reveal last week, and then we're just kind of like, oh, he was the cop that he killed, and randomly,
Yeah, but I don't know. Like that part of it, the whole like, hey, maybe he didn't. I don't know that Oliver necessarily was saying that he didn't kill her because he still has those memories, but he was suspecting that he, by remembering this stuff, there's a lot of stuff that's going to get muddled in there, and we'll figure out maybe if he actually might have. I don't know if we've really answered that question.
I think they have. I think they've completely ruled it out now.
Interesting. But do you think Laurel has?
No, they haven't told. That was the other thing too. Okay,
Laurel's gonna come after Roy hard.
Yeah, she said, "Train me to find my sister." Did she say find my sister's killer?
To I don't know.
Avenge my sister's death.
Avenge my sister's death. That's what it was.
And up until this point, he didn't know she had a sister. Probably.
No, he did because she said my sister. That's why. What the reason was? As she said, because you're fighting your sister's killer. That from last episode. Remember?
Yes, I forgot.
Yeah. So anyway, like I think she's gonna come after Roy, which is gonna be nuts, dude. If she comes after Roy.
I mean, she can't. She's gonna go up against the Team Arrow.
Dude, I don't know if she's like. Here is my theory. I'm gonna lay this out there. I think she's gonna go covert about it.
Yeah.
And is gonna try to kill him without anybody else knowing, or try to orchestrate something eventually, and that whole thing. So I don't know.
I don't like. This is the thing, like Oliver has, I think kind of nostalgic feelings, for Laurel, and she's his friend and all this kind of stuff. But you can't trust her worth a hoot.
Right.
You've never been able to. Even her own father doesn't trust her.
Right.
And I don't like this continued just deception on her part. It's just kind of like, just stop being friends at this point. Like,
yeah.
She's gonna try to kill your sidekick. She doesn't trust you to make the right decision.
Yeah.
Ever.
Well, and Oliver has a humongous, and I actually tweeted this out during the episode, Oliver has a huge blind spot whenever it comes to Laurel. And I think the rest of the team sees it, but and they keep reminding him about it. But Oliver, I don't know when he's going to end up learning that he can't really trust her, and he can't really keep putting that much faith in her. It's nice whenever they do work together, though. But that's been on the rare occasion. Like, there's maybe only one time I can think of that they worked together.
They work together on that level, like they're actually working together. I think it was at the end of last season.
Right.
But she's always continually providing them information. Like they did this week.
That's right.
On different people and stuff like that. Information maybe Felicity can't get. I don't know. He uses her for that purpose. For sure.
Yeah.
He just needs to stop trusting her altogether, though.
Agreed. So, I loved Roy in this episode.
Yeah.
I have to say, this is this season in particular, Roy has continuously, just grown on me. Starting from episode 1, whenever he did the backflip off the car to stop the other car, to shoot the arrow at the truck or whatever it was. But from that moment, I was like, dude, Roy! And then now, all the way up until this episode, I'm really glad we didn't cut him off. That would have been really annoying choice for me because I like the character a lot.
That's what I mean. I feel like it was kind of a cheap kind of hey, we should cut him off. I don't know. They kind of tried to draw parallels between that and what was the guy's name?
Wildcat's assistant or whatever his name was.
Assistant, just sidekick.
Yeah, there you go.
Wildcat sidekick. But it's a completely different situation.
Yeah,
completely different team, different person.
And I do like Roy's thing, and this may be giving away. One of my quotes from later, whenever he says, "I'm not you."
He said, "I'm not you," but I liked his plea then to Oliver.
Yep.
Don't
abandon me.
Yeah, don't abandon me. And he said, "Never."
Yep.
That was a great exchange.
Oh man, that was the moment. And something about this episode that was interesting was they didn't have as many one-liners. They didn't have as many big quotes.
Yeah.
But then it all kind of built up to that one that really sold the relationship, and it actually turned the climax of the emotional storyline on one phrase, and that's always nice whenever you can tie that all together.
Well, I think that's where they were wanting to build toward. That's where they wanted to get. I just think they could have gotten to that point in a cleaner, less convoluted way. You know what I mean?
Well, like I said, lots of emotions were flying around this time, and it all happened correct me if I'm wrong. Did this all happen within the matter of one night?
I don't know. No.
It seemed like it did almost. Especially the stuff with the guy who took Laurel captive and.
Okay, let's think. The best indication is it started off and Laurel and Wildcat were fighting.
Yep.
They leave and go to dinner, and they come back, and that's when the dead people are there.
Yes. The zombies.
Yes. Then then what happens? Because like later on, he gets arrested.
No, yeah, no.
He
Then
goes back-
yeah, because Oliver goes back to the Arrow Cave and is tracking Wildcat. Then he goes to hunt down Wildcat at his hideout.
Yeah.
And that's whenever the second dead body is there.
Yeah.
And then they go directly from there
To Laurel.
to
get the information about.
No, they went and they confronted the guy the first time, right?
No, because at their. Yes. Yeah, but they have to get the information from Laurel first.
That's right.
This all, I guess you're right.
Yeah,
This
it all
could've
happened in
taken-
one night.
Because by the time he gets released, then they get caught by the guy. And
Yep. Yeah, all one night.
It's a long night.
Dude, it is a long night.
And you're right. All the while, Roy's supposed to be back at the cave getting
Sleeping.
some rest, and
Yep.
he's just like chilling, walking around.
In his PJs.
Yeah, in his pajamas.
I just love, and then somebody corrected me, or somebody said it's because he doesn't want to like have the nightmares again, and it's like, yeah, that's true. But I just love the idea of him walking around in the Arrow Cave with Felicity, just hanging out in his like PJs.
Yeah.
Just slumber party over there.
I want to see their bunk. Like, do they have bunk beds?
him and Oliver,
yeah.
just over there. No, Oliver lives with Thea now, so.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's well before that though.
Yeah, no, they totally were bunking, man.
That's another thing. We had there was a lack of interaction between Oliver and Thea this week.
Yep, we didn't
had
see
no
Malcolm
movement on that
Merlin.
front. Nope.
We didn't see Ray Palmer.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we've got to have happen in the next few episodes.
I just don't like. What I don't want to happen to Ray Palmer is what they did with Isabel Rochoff last season, where she came out of the gate strong.
Yeah.
She seemed like she was developing into a really cool character. Kind of receded into the background for a few episodes, and then came back and was like, "Well, I'm a bad guy, dead."
Yeah.
You know, I don't want that to happen to Ray.
Yeah, and it's like that kind of seems like kind of a throwaway thing to do with such great characters. And Isabel, it might actually be something where she might have had like another commitment. Yeah, and then so I don't think he really has anything else going on right now. He's not like dedicated to different movies or any other shows.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen some promotional pictures,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe even just some handheld stuff from Paul Blackthorne's Twitter, where he has posted like cool stuff that happens with Ray in the future. And so like I'm super excited for some things that he's teased via those photos, those set photos. But as far as like the Malcolm thing goes, it's like, I mean, wouldn't he? I guess that he wouldn't have had anything to do with this episode, and Thea wouldn't have either, really. This was all like just an internal Arrow affair with Wildcat. So it's really interesting that there was a vigilante before Oliver in the city.
Yeah, that was kind of I don't know, weird.
Yeah. It was...
It seemed like, because like we just kind of, looking back at the first season, they kind of seemed like, well, this is a new thing.
Right.
They just say, because otherwise, wouldn't they think it was the same vigilante as last time?
Or...
Just different weapons?
I mean, he was dealing with the city leaders in season 1. Whereas Wildcat was dealing with kind of like the drug lords and those types of things. So it's kind of two different types of criminals, and one of them would have garnered more press. I will give them that, but it is interesting that we haven't heard about this until now from anybody, from any street level thugs or anything. But it does explain why so many like bad guys are like theatrical or like are very much super villain-esque in the city. That it's not just Oliver, that was a pre-existing condition to the bad guys of the city. So it was interesting whenever we were talking about like Roy and him killing someone and not really being in control of that whole situation. I just remember like whenever we had that whole discussion about, oh, we should turn him in or we should cut him loose or whatever. And it's like, no, in season 1, Oliver killed so many people.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he didn't face any consequences for this, and he turned his mind around and changed his mind from killing these people. And so, I don't know. I don't know what the difference was. And I think that maybe Team Arrow is too far reserved from their roots, because their roots are very bloody and their roots are very revenge oriented almost. So it's interesting to see how far we've come, whereas last year we were dealing with the whole should I kill, should I not, and then this season it's like, no, you absolutely shouldn't. But not only should you not, you're holding other people to a standard that you didn't used to hold yourself to.
Right. Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah. To be sure, yeah. You're like, okay, we're classifying this guy as evil because he killed one man, and you've killed how many?
Yeah.
And
at least like 15 in the first episode of Arrow.
Right.
And it's like Diggle was never okay with Oliver killing people.
Yeah.
But he never made him stand trial for what he did or anything like that. So yeah, just losing sight of the roots of where they came from.
So I'm looking at. I was always thinking for some reason that the Flash
Crossover?
Arrow crossover was on the 6th episode. It's on the 8th episode of Flash.
Right.
We have next week. Arrow is going to be airing, and then the week of Thanksgiving it is not. Week of Thanksgiving, however, Flash is.
Yeah.
And then we have the
crossover.
The crossover.
So is that like mid-season finale time, or that's
mid-season finale time is not until episode 12.
Gotcha. So that's well before. So that's interesting. It's nice this season to see them on big strings of episodes versus because like last season I felt like we had a week on and a week off, a week on and a week off, that sort of thing. But it's nice to have them all strung together so you can kind of put them into story arcs.
We could get to that point. Like we were already skipping. We skipped last week with Flash, and we're skipping this week. I guess what makes it better though is that they have the 2 shows now, so it's not like we go a week without either one of them.
Right, and it's in universe maybe.
Yeah,
that it feels like it's less breaks.
I could see that start happening toward the end of the season though if they can't keep their production schedule on.
Yeah, and that's what happened like last year, and even to the point where like Stephen Amell like commented about it. He's like, I have no control over that. He's like, a lot of us don't either. He's like, some of it's the visual effects crews and things like that they just don't have time or whatever. So or scheduling as far as lots go. So it's a lot of like the production madness of a show like this.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that we really wanted to bring up? Arsenal. We
have a name.
Renamed Roy as Arsenal, which is nice.
I think that's what he's always been billed as.
Right.
But we've never officially said it on the show.
I've never really made it a plot point either, because it's like obvious that the Arrow is the Arrow.
Yeah.
And but it never was obvious he was Arsenal. So.
Do you think Wildcat and Laurel team up? So it's Wildcat and Black Canary kind of team up as a team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because even to that point, Oliver is always kind of. In the comics and things like that, has butted heads a little bit with Wildcat sometimes, and Canary has kind of been in that flux as well, where like they'll butt heads with each other, and she'll butt heads with Wildcat and then him as well. So like there's a lot of things that they're playing towards here, and I really like where that character is going. I don't know, man. I'm excited. This was the first episode where I can really see Laurel as a vigilante. Almost.
She's got the attitude now, and she's definitely got had the training, and even the Katie Cassidy as the actress. She's been in the gym buffing up. Like you can definitely tell, like she has a lot of lower abdomen muscles, and like she's bulking up in her arms and shoulders and stuff. And so like she's starting to look more the part, I guess. She honestly kind of looks more the part than Katie Lotz ever did.
Right. But it's nice to see that development, and I guess I don't know, how soon do you think she suits up? Do you think it's still like into the season? Because that's what I said at episode 1. I said we won't see this until the end of the season.
I honestly think that and I could be wrong, because we've got let's talk about the things coming down the pike. Okay. We're gonna have a confrontation between Laurel and Roy, where she's gonna try to kill him. We've also got a confrontation possibly coming between.
Is she suited up for that confrontation? Do you think?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
We've got, because like she made a big deal about wearing Sarah's jacket and all that
picking
kind of stuff.
black over red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we've got a confrontation between Ra's al Ghul and
Ra's al Ghul, however you want to say
it. And Arrow, for sure. We've also got possibly a confrontation between Thea and Arrow, Thea/Malcolm and Arrow.
There's a lot of stuff going on, dude.
I think that the confrontation between Laurel and Roy will happen mid-season.
Okay.
Again, I said that about
Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, and the League of Assassins. I'm not really sure.
I think that is tied. Whatever that is going to be tied directly to the conflict with Thea and Merlin.
Yeah.
I really think that's tied just so closely together, and those plot points are so closely knitted that whenever one happens, the other will definitely happen as well.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe like at that point, maybe like they make the whole Laurel Roy thing a side note, and then they team up with their team and kind of get over the fact that she thinks Roy. But I mean, it's all it honestly takes. John, is him saying, "Hey, Roy didn't kill Sarah, so."
Right.
And then the conflict's over.
Right. Which is interesting. You're right. That could be kind of a side story into something, and segue into, hey, who is her real killer? Whatever.
I don't know why he just doesn't go find Laura. But like, hey, by the way, we figured out that Roy really didn't kill Sarah, so stop being mad at him.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm not sure if, again, they could possibly bring this back and he actually maybe did, or like that's still a question in Oliver's mind, but Oliver just doesn't care because Oliver realizes I killed people, he killed people too, it doesn't matter, that sort of thing. So I don't know, it's like they could bring that back up, but you were saying that it seems like they've closed the door on it, so yeah. I kind of agree that it sounds like they've closed the door.
We also saw a tease for Cupid, whoever this is.
Yeah, well, let's see how next episode... Like, it's like, are we not going to deal with any of these ongoing storylines next episode? Is this just going to be a standalone?
Which is weird. You would think that they would have something like this around, like, Valentine's Day or something.
You would think.
That would be a cool, like, tie-in to the real world.
Yeah, it would.
Okay, so do you think that she killed Sarah?
No, I don't think so. The arrows, her arrows looked vastly different than the ones they pulled out of her.
You can switch out arrows.
That's true. Maybe she was, like, just testing her bow. But I don't think so because...
She knew her.
Yeah, because...
Unless she's worked with her before.
Maybe. I mean, unless she's... Where does she, like, learn to shoot the arrows? Is this something that she's a fan of the arrow? Or is this something like she was in the League of Assassins?
Who? Oh, the Cupid?
Yeah, maybe she's an ex-member of the League of Assassins.
That's possible.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's some things there that maybe we can suspect her next week, but I really don't think that she did. I think that whoever did, it'll be a bigger deal than that.
You know what would be cool is if, like, and this would be very Batman-esque, like whenever Oliver's not out doing arrow things, he's out like doing detective work trying to find Sarah's killer, like
that would be cool
as a side story to this whole thing. Like that would be, I would love that. That would be really cool.
Dude, that'd be awesome to see him going out on the streets and like trying to investigate and
talking to low criminals and like that's the one thing about Arrow that is vastly different from Batman, where Batman has this like connection with the underworld where he knows what's going on and he knows who to talk to find information.
Right.
Whereas Arrow's kind of like a very like above ground guy, and in the he uses the police scanners and they use all this other kind of stuff. Like basically something has to happen before he knows that it's happened.
It's very reactionary.
Exactly.
It's interesting. One of my favorite Batman stories is actually a story, I think it's in black and white, Batman Black and White, where he's actually in the coroner's office, Batman is, and he's doing this autopsy and stuff. And it's like, and you don't see that level of Batman very often, but to see him in that kind of detective, almost CSI aspect, I think that came out around like whenever CSI or whatever was going on. It's nice to see like that detective side of him come out. Whereas I feel like Arrow, it would be nice also to see him in a different kind of position.
But he's not really that person, I guess. Like that. Well, it's not his background.
Well, and Oliver kind of has all the subtlety of a sledgehammer.
That's true too.
So I mean, whenever he goes in to talk to even the Russians or whatever that he has the mob connections with, he was very like threatening. Whenever he went in there.
These are like his people or whatever, and he's going in and basically just throwing a bomb in the place.
For sure, dude. For sure. Is that it? Do you have everything? Hoods up, hoods down?
Hoods up.
Hoods up. Hoods up for sure. Here are some quotes from the episode. We have, you okay? I'm not the one facing a lifetime in prison. And then we have, who's the man behind the mask? And I thought that was a really nice line. It was just kind of one that happened in passing, but I thought it was nice to have that kind of play out on multiple sides. And he said, that's why I've been losing to you, Laurel. This whole thing is lying to you. My autocorrect, Chris.
To you?
Says, that's why I've been lying to you, Laurel. This whole thing is my fault.
Which is a stupid reason to lie.
That is a very stupid reason to lie.
Hey, I knew it is.
Yep.
This guy's killing everybody.
I
know.
Before anybody else dies.
Now I'm going to tell you who this guy is.
Or before we get taken captive at gunpoint.
Yeah.
Let me come clean. And then we have Oliver saying, I'm the one who brought Roy into this. And then Diggle says, and maybe it's time to cut him loose.
Stupid Diggle.
So, like, reactionary Diggle. But then again, it's late at night. He hasn't had much sleep.
There's a baby.
He's got a baby. And he doesn't want, Because, like, probably before Roy was, like, babysitting for him and stuff, you know?
Yeah. He comes and works all night with Oliver. Okay, goes home every day at like 6 in the morning.
Yep. He
Okay.
probably watches
Tries to fall asleep, you see.
Yeah, okay.
And his daughter wakes him up like 2 hours. He's getting 2 hours of sleep a night, John. He can't be trusted to make the most rational decisions.
So here's what we need from Diggle, though. We need a mask for Diggle.
Yeah.
That dude needs a mask.
He's not really going out that much anymore. But he is.
He was sitting in the car.
He's driving.
He was sitting in that car. It's
Yeah.
like, what, does Diggle just show up where all this arrow action happens? It's
Yeah.
like, come on. Give him a mask, please.
It's true.
And then we have...
Let him keep the leather jacket.
Yeah, for
that
sure.
That part's cool.
For sure. He said, I'm not you. And then, don't abandon me. Never.
Yeah.
That was a great exchange. And then we have Ted, your mistake wasn't cutting him loose. It was not believing in him. That was a good moment as well. Yeah. Then we have the last exchange, and this is the last one, probably my favorite one, between Oliver and Roy, where he said I was just another weapon in your arsenal. And he says, well, maybe that's what we should call you then.
Yep.
Boom.
All right,
guys. You should follow us on Twitter. What's your Twitter, Chris?
ChrisWright250.
My Twitter is JohnWright777.
The podcast is Stay on Target Pod.
Stay on Target Pod. This week on the main podcast, we're talking about some movie stuff. We're talking about some game stuff. Make sure you check out the main podcast.
Yep.
We have Flash on Target. And you can find all of this at stayontargetpodcast.com.
Yep.
That's it for this week. We'll see you next time on
Arrow on Target.